Hello and welcome to today's video. This is my June wrap-up video. I'm basically just going to be talking about all the books that I've read in June. If I liked them, if I didn't like them, pros, cons, would I recommend them, that sort of thing. This is going to be a shorter one. I'm not planning on talking about the books loads because loads of the books that I've read this month I've either already spoken about in other videos or I've had like entire vlogs dedicated to reading them. So any videos that these books have appeared in, I will link up above, just like as I'm talking about them. I'm not going to go into detail unless it's like a specific video, but I will talk about the book still. I'm going to keep it simple, keep it basic, not really worry too much about going into detail, but I'm still going to give you my opinion. So during June I read 19 books and a total of 7,206 pages, which is now, I think for both of those, that's the most I've read in a month, both in terms of books and in terms of pages. It's only just past the pages mark. Last month I was very close to that. I was only like less than 200 pages less, so you know, but still the most I've ever read, which just keeps happening month on month. It keeps being the most I've ever read and I'm having such a good time reading. I'm really happy with it. So for the books that I read 14 of them physically and 5 of them audibly. Some of them that I've got down as reading audibly I did also read along with, others I didn't. And then in terms of genres, there were 12 fantasy books, 2 romance books, 2 contemporary books, 2 classics and 1 biography. So yeah, that is kind of like the quick and easy stats, and I think it's just time to talk about the books now, so I'm just going to get into it. So the first 3 books I'm going to talk about, I'm going to kind of talk about them together, and those are the last 3 books in the Throne of Glass series. So we've got Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash. And I read all of these this month, right at the start of the month actually. I can't believe that it was this month that I read these, but yeah, read all of them. So I've also given all of them 5 stars. Empire of Storms, we've got lots of multiple perspectives in it, and obviously I'm not going to say too much about any of these because potential spoilers, it's a very big series. Lots of multiple perspectives, and the end of Empire of Storms ends on such a cliffhanger of like what the actual fuck is going on that I just had to keep reading straight away. Like I wasn't planning to, I just had to. And then Tower of Dawn, we're actually just following Cole and it's taking place at the same time as Empire of Storms took place. So these two are essentially could be like one book, but obviously they're not. And yeah, these take place at the exact same time, but this one is like the main group's perspective and this one is just Cole. And then the last one, I don't know how to say much without spoiling it, but let's just say it was great. Everything happened that needed to happen. Everything got where it needed to go and so much happened. This is such a big chunky book. I think it's like almost 1,000 pages. Yeah, 980 pages. So much happened in this, but it was absolutely an amazing end to this series. So yeah, those are the first 3 books and I gave all of them 5 stars, so we started off really, really good. Then I did a reading vlog where I read like cheesy YA high school romance type books, or what I thought were going to be those. Didn't really fit, but that's okay. One of them I DNF, so I won't be talking about that one, but the 2 that I did read were Paper Towns and The Duff. The Duff really surprised me. I could kind of remember the movie The Duff. I think I've watched it a lot more recently than anything else I was reading. But I gave this 3 stars. It actually still held up relatively well, and I feel like if you were the correct like target audience for this, it probably would still hold up really quite well. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. We follow a main character called Bianca Piper, who is told by Wesley that she is the designated ugly fat friend, and she's got 2 best friends, and there's Wesley. And in this one, what I liked about this was I recognised the characters from watching the movie, but the story was so different, and this story was a lot more realistic as to like things that would actually happen. And although the main part of this was like the main romance that was going on, there was also a lot of other plot happening and a lot of backstory given to quite a few of the characters. So yeah, it was alright. I gave it 3 stars and I had a relatively good time. And I also picked up Paper Towns. This was the one I was looking forward to reading the most. I can remember really enjoying this. This was a reread for me, and I can definitely remember enjoying this when I was younger. I gave it 2 stars. It didn't stand up. It no longer had the same effect or the same feeling, and it was a lot. And it was very, very slow. It's kind of split into 3 parts, this book, and the last part starts here. This last part was a really good pace. This happened like so good. I really wanted to keep reading. But as you can see, compared to the rest of the book, that's a very small section of it. So yeah, in this one we follow mainly Quentin, but also Margot a little bit as well. And essentially Quentin and Margot have an amazing night where they go and do loads of like high stakes activities, and then the next day Margot goes missing and Quentin has to figure out where she's gone, and that's the entire plot. There is other stuff that happens, there is other stuff going on, but honestly, like, it just didn't deliver the messages I feel like it was trying to. Obviously, I'm not the target audience for this. If I was, maybe it would like work, maybe it would work better, but yeah, 2 stars. It was alright still, like, I was still fine reading it. I was just quite bored for a massive proportion of it. And then I read a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and that was Loveless. This was the second to last Alice Oseman book that I have to read that like they currently have published. The only one I now have left is Radio Silence, so I'm hopefully going to get to that soon. But yeah, this was really good. I gave this 4 stars. It wasn't perfect for me because a lot of it felt quite young. And this is set in university. This is like university students, so it kind of felt slightly too young, which wasn't the end of the world. Like, it was still a fun time. I guess thinking back and thinking of myself starting university and these people starting university, it didn't feel realistic all the time for me. So yeah, 4 stars, but this was great. We followed Georgia, who's never been in love and is basically just figuring out her identity throughout the entire book. There's also like side characters. There's Georgia's 2 best friends who both have like a bit of a storyline themselves, and there's also like a person that they meet at uni and become really good friends with. I'm not mentioning names from now on because I don't want to give spoilers, but yeah, there's also people at university and even in their personal lives that just don't understand, and yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to say, a lot of things to do, but had a really good time. And I think I read this in like a day and a half. It was such a quick read. I really wanted to keep reading and it really kept me engaged and interested. So yeah, I would definitely recommend. I'm 25 but still enjoy reading a lot of YA books. I feel like if you are older or if you are growing out of YA, this might not be the best for you, but overall really good book. And if you enjoy most YA, then I think you're going to really enjoy this. Then I had a disappointing read, and this actually made it onto my like most disappointing book of the year thing for the mid-year freakout tag, and that was A Road Trip. I have read both The Flat Share and The Switch by Beth O'Leary before and really enjoyed them, and the writing just was getting better and better. So with this being like the next published book, you know, this is quite a recent one. I do think there's one more out now as well, but this was, you know, like a recent edition that is written after 2 books I'd already really enjoyed by the author. So I expected a lot from it and it didn't deliver. I don't know why exactly. I feel like there was a lot of problems with it. There was a lot of things going on that I just didn't like. Mainly, so I don't read a lot of romance. Like, if you've watched many videos before, you'll know that. But in case you don't, like, I just don't read a lot of romance. But Beth O'Leary was an author that I found and I really enjoyed. I don't think I've ever read before the second chance romance trope, and I hated it. I don't think it's a trope I'm ever going to vibe with. Yeah, and I think that was a big part of the problem, but I also just, the characters weren't great and it didn't make sense to me. I don't know if this was the writing or the trope, because obviously I've never read the trope before, but I was just like, this doesn't make sense. You've broken up, but like, be friends, be civil, whatever, but like, why is this second chance romance trope a thing? Like, you've broken up, why would there be a second thing? Like, if you weren't willing to fight for the relationship in the first place, you're not going to be willing to now. Like, I don't know, I don't understand it, and I'm not articulating very well why I didn't like this book, but I didn't like it, so I'm just going to leave it here. yeah. Then there were a couple of smaller books. The first one being The Little Prince. This is like a proper kids book, but it was also meant to be like good for adults as well. I enjoyed it. It was alright. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. A lot of people really rant and rave about this book, and like, you know, like I've seen even like a lot of people on booktube mention it before, and a lot of people say how amazing it is, all these things it did for them, and it just didn't do that for me. Like, it was still a good book. It was nice. Like, I understand it, and especially with the ending, I understand how, after reading this book, how you view the ending could very much signify if you are still this child or if you are still this adult, and what you want out of the ending. I just wasn't vibing. Honestly, I just wasn't vibing, and it wasn't bad by any means, but it's just an average book. It was, for me, an average kids book with a pretty decent ending if you really want to think into it, but not really a decent ending if you're a kid, because you either view it the kids way, which is like fine, or you don't, and like that's not the best way to like go about thinking about the ending. I don't know, it's difficult to say without spoiling things obviously, but yeah, it was an average book. It was good, it was decent, it wasn't anything special. And then I also read The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. This edition that I have did have other stories in it as well, and I did read all of them. So it's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Bernice Bobs Her Hair, and The Diamond As Big As the Ritz. Overall, it's got 3 stars. That's an average. I will insert a picture here of like what I wrote on Goodreads, so I can't remember the exact split up of which one's got what stars. But essentially, one of them was terrible, one of them was pretty bad but didn't mind it, and one of them was like, oh yeah, like this is pretty decent. So yeah, not my type of writing. I didn't enjoy it in the slightest, to be quite honest. I do own one other F. Scott Fitzgerald book, which is The Great Gatsby, which I haven't read yet, and I'm worried I'm not going to like that one. But yeah, it was definitely a classic. It was definitely written like a classic. It was very outdated. There was a lot of problems. There's a lot of, like, these are books that are like, this is for an adult, but a lot of the things going on was so obvious. A lot of, especially in the last one, The Diamond As Big As the Ritz, everything that was gonna happen was extremely obvious and extremely stupid. And yeah, I'm gonna move on because I'm getting really negative and I don't like talking too negatively. But yeah, wasn't for me. Let's move on. Then we have 3 more smaller books, but these ones I really enjoyed, and they're books 1, 2 and 3 of a 5-book series, and those are the Spiderwick Chronicles. We've got book 1, which is The Field Guide, book 2, which is The Seeing Stone, and book 3, which is Lucinda's Secret. All of these got 4 stars. They were all really good. Reading these books made me wish I'd read them when I was like actually a child and like the correct age range, because I feel like I would have got completely lost in these books as a child. Like, I would have been absorbed by them. I would have loved it, and it was still a great time as an adult, but I wasn't completely absorbed into it and I wasn't completely there. But they were so good. In book 1 we basically find like a field guide which tells these siblings, these 3 siblings, that magic is real, essentially. Like, not magic, but like the magical world. And in book 1 it is all about the world of fairy, and then moving on from there we meet different creatures in different books. But it's such a good time, it's so much fun. The main character that we follow is Jared, but the other main people in the story are his twin brother Simon and their sister Mallory, and it's just wholesome adventures exploring magical worlds, and it's such a fun time. They're very short books, they're all around 100 pages, give or take 10, and yeah, great time, really enjoyed them, would definitely recommend. The younger you are, the better, I would say, just because I didn't get completely absorbed, and I can really see like child Heather, who really enjoyed reading and getting immersed in reading, like loving and becoming obsessed with these books. So yeah. Then throughout the month I've been listening to a biography on audiobook and really loving it, and that was Becoming by Michelle Obama. This got 5 stars. It was great. It was like honestly incredible. Like, I have definitely found that if there's someone I'm truly interested in, you know, giving that they are a good writer, and to be honest also a good narrator, because I listened to this via the audiobook which Michelle Obama herself narrates, that I can be truly absorbed and truly interested. This is like the 2nd biography I've read this year, and I've really been enjoying exploring this more. I will say, like, I can't yet just pick up a random biography by a random person. Like, if I don't care about them, I don't care about them. That's just it. But this one I really enjoyed. Like, don't get me wrong, I've never been a massive like Michelle Obama fan or anything, but I know who she is, I know of her and like the work that she's done, and I'd heard a lot of really good things and a lot of really good reviews about this book, and I'm so pleased that I picked it up. It really was just like a complete life story, kind of like from early childhood to like when this was published. I think it was like 2018 this one was published. And yeah, it felt really honest, really raw, you know, like it didn't feel like she was holding back, but she was still being respectful to everyone. And yeah, it was a good time, it was interesting, and honestly I'd just say if you're slightly interested in it, give it a go. My library had the audiobook and I hardly read along with it, like it was only the odd place that I did. Yeah, see if your library has the audiobook, because I think within the first couple of chapters you'll know if you're going to enjoy it or not, and I really did. 5 stars. And then kind of last but not least, but there are 6 books here, I've just finished reading, literally finished them last night. Like, last night was the last day of June. All of these are the 6 books in the Bloodline series. This is basically a spin-off series of the Vampire Academy books, following a different character starting a few months later. I can't actually remember, but yeah, I've vlogged this entire series, so I will link it up above. It will be either the video before this one or the video after this one that is coming out, but I will link it up above when it's out. And yeah, I really enjoyed these. They were a really fun time. I do think it helped that I was already in the world. I don't think you should read these without first having read the Vampire Academy books, but a lot went on. There was a lot of different things throughout, and there was a lot of character development throughout, and just honestly a really good time. It was a different look at this world and this vampire world, because the main perspective that we follow in this one is Sydney, who is an alchemist, and alchemists basically make sure that the human world don't find out about the vampires and clean up any messes that happen, and basically like work as a barrier between the vampires and the humans. So yeah, it was really interesting. I'm so glad I read it, and it was also really nice seeing characters from the first series like popping up and being a part of this as well. Overall, I gave Bloodlines, which is book 1, 4.5 stars. Golden Lily, I gave 4 stars. The Indigo Spell, I gave 4.5 stars. The Fiery Heart, I gave 4.5 stars. Silver Shadows, I gave 5 stars, and the Ruby Circle, I gave 4.5 stars. So a really good time. And yeah, I know that's a bit of a shorter wrap up than usual. I haven't spoke that much about the books, but I still hope that you really enjoyed it. If you did like the video, please do give it a like, subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!